Based on what's that supposed to
Start from other translators could.
Okay, you're gonna have to cut this and put it back there. Just to insult them and what? Hey everybody, Deathblade here with another Chinese fantasy novel FAQ. Today I'm talking about the difference between demons and devils. Now I already did a whole video which you can check out right here where I talk about the dictionary definitions of those two Chinese characters alongside several other Chinese characters, some of which are kind of similar. If you haven't watched that video already, you should check it out, because in this video I'm not really going to be going over the dictionary definitions. I'm basically going to be talking about how the Chinese characters get translated into English and what I think about how those two different creatures in the Chinese fantasy novels are represented. Before I get started, if you like this kind of content, please do like and subscribe and share and notification bell and all that. You can also check out the description below to support me directly, especially via Patreon. To everyone who supports me on Patreon, thank you very much. If you support on Patreon, you can actually vote on some of the topics that I talk about. In fact, this video was the voted subject for this week. Now there's something different going on in this video. Again, before I get started, I gotta tell you, the last video, Madam Deathblade cursed me and yelled at me.
There we go. Get ready to be yelled at.
For doing all kinds of mistakes while I was recording the video, and she's like, it was so hard for me to edit, and you can't do this and you can't do that. And I was like, look, why don't you just get behind the camera and direct the video? And so that's what she's doing today. She is right there behind the camera directing. So let's see if the video quality improves. Okay, let's get talking about demons and devils. Basically, there are two different Chinese characters that by themselves can be translated as either demon or devil. One of them is Mo, and I'll put that up here. And the other one is Yao, which I'll put right here. And the thing is that they can sometimes be translated by themselves, sometimes they can get put with other characters to make compound words. And if you watch that video that I mentioned earlier, you can see what I'm talking about, because I pull up the dictionary definitions, I scroll through them, and you can see that there are a lot of different words. And also, the way that they are translated into English is many times switched around. So sometimes Mo will be devil, sometimes it'll be demon. It'll depend on the translator's whim. The one Yao can sometimes be devil or demon depending on the translator's whim. And this goes back many, many years, not just in the Chinese fantasy novel translation scene, but going back to historical translations of Chinese texts, including like the classic of Mountain and Seas or Journey to the West, those kind of things. These different characters will get translated in different ways. I personally think it's a big travesty that translators can just randomly pick whatever they feel like based on the moment. I mean, there could be worse things in the world, but what that does is it makes it difficult for you, the reader, to identify what is being talked about if you're only reading it in English. Now, I would like your opinions on what I'm about to say, but the only downside is that it's really difficult for the readers to know what the translator's choice is unless the translator puts a footnote or something, or if the translator is very consistent. So me personally, I try to be as consistent as possible. I always translate Mo as devil or something related to devils. I always translate Yao as demon, something relating to demons, but that's just me. Other translators can do it different ways, in fact, sometimes even the opposite way. And again, you don't know unless they tell you what's going on. So that makes it hard for you, the readers, to be able to tell what is the difference between a demon, a Yao, and a devil, a Mo in these Chinese fantasy novels. Now, based on my observation, I found that the Mo, the devils, tend to be more like related to hell. They're basically evil usually. They are often warlike. They enjoy inflicting pain. They are basically bad. There's almost always bad in some way. The Yao, the demons, they're oftentimes associated with animals. They're like not necessarily good or evil. They're kind of neutral forces. They do tend to be violent and ruthless, but not necessarily out for evil. That's just my kind of high level take on how they are portrayed in the fantasy novels. And again, it can change from author to author. I have only translated the major works of a couple different authors, and I haven't read a huge amount outside of their works, so I can't tell you what many different authors have done. But in everything that I have seen, including the ancient Chinese texts, it tends to fall into those two lines of demons and devils. The devils being evil, the demons being like forces of nature kind of thing. Now, this pertains to some other commonly translated terms. For instance, in the Chinese fantasy novels, there's a concept that you can develop something in your heart that will impede your cultivation, your progress, your advancement, and it's often called a heart devil. At least that's how I translate it. In the past, I have sometimes called it an inner devil or something along those lines, but some translators will call it a heart demon. I personally don't like heart demon because it has the character for mo, which is devil. It's a sim mo, not a sin yao. And so I think it should be heart devil. That's just my personal opinion. And of course, you could make arguments regarding the English definitions of devil and demon. I remember when I was in China, I had a friend who was adamant that the epithet for foreigners, foreign devil or demon, he said it should be foreign demons. And he had this whole argument about why it should be demon and not devil because of the etymology and how people use the word historically differs from the blah, 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 blah. And so anyway, I know that you can analyze it from the English perspective as well. The big thing this boils down to, in my personal opinion, is consistency. I think that translators should try to be consistent, definitely within the body of work that they're translating. So for me, I have devils and demons and ghosts and monsters. I try to keep all the terms separate so that as the readers are going through the novel, they know what the author is intending for these people to be or to sound like. Now, I think it really would be great if all Chinese translation could be consistent as well, but unfortunately that's not possible. So if you are reading Chinese fantasy novels and you come across a situation where you see demon or devil and you're not sure, or maybe you think it's one or the other, you could always ask the translator. Please do be respectful, because as a translator it can be very frustrating to have readers jumping out questioning the translation and accusing you of making mistakes. That's not what I'm suggesting to do. I'm just saying that if it's important to you, you can always ask or try to track down the Chinese on your own to find out what exact Chinese characters are being used. Okay, this was kind of a short video. I was thinking about this recently based on things I've seen in the comment sections and among translator chatting and whatnot. What are your opinions? Have you noticed, if you're a person who's read a lot of Chinese fantasy novels, have you noticed a clear distinction between devils and demons? Do you think that most translators favor one version over the other? I'm not super familiar with the works of all the different translators, but I know that some of you out there read a lot, so I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the matter? Please do leave them in the comments below. If you're a translator, go ahead. I'd love to hear comments as well. What's your take on how to translate these two different terms?
Do you want to explain that foreign demon? You make us look really bad.
Okay, and just to be clear, the foreign demon, foreign devil thing, actually the Chinese character there is not the character for demon or devil in Chinese. It's actually the character for ghost. So it's Yangguizi. And this is a term that originated, based on my understanding, I'm kind of talking off the top of my head here without doing any research. I'm pretty sure it originated primarily in the Qing Dynasty times, which was when the Western nations really started to interfere in China, and it was something that the Chinese people would refer to the foreigners as a foreign ghost. But in my experience in the translations, it usually got translated as foreign devil or foreign demon, just to insult them and for the Chinese people to try to make themselves feel superior in a time when there was a lot of conflict and tension between China and the foreign powers. And incidentally, I guess this is probably a topic for a different video, but that term does tend to get thrown around sometimes nowadays, but it is definitely I guess you could say, a bad...
Racist. Racist against the what?
I would say that a lot of Chinese people would view it as being racist, so it's not something you would want to say to a foreigner as a Chinese person. But that said, it does get thrown around sometimes, especially at bars. There's scuffles or fighting going on, that kind of language. So again, that's it for this video. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, consider supporting on Patreon. I'll see you next time. Godsilla.